whispers of malevolence, the unearthly labyrinth of Mullet's dark convergence. Scary story. Robbie Nakata hated his new school. He hated the way the students stared at him with curiosity and pity, as if he was some exotic animal or a charity case. He hated the way the teachers treated him with condescension and indifference, as if he was a burden or an afterthought. He hated the way the building loomed over him with its dark and dreary architecture, as if it was a prison or a tomb. He had no choice but to attend this school after his father's company transferred him to a remote town in the middle of nowhere. His mother tried to cheer him up, saying it was a fresh start and an opportunity to make new friends. His sister tried to console him, saying it was only for a year and they would be back to their old home soon. But Robbie knew they were lying. He knew they were just as unhappy and miserable as he was. He missed his old school, where he had a close group of friends who shared his interests and hobbies. He missed his old neighborhood, where he felt safe and comfortable. He missed his old life, where he felt happy and normal. But there was no going back. He had to adapt and survive in this new and hostile environment. He had to endure and cope with the unsettling changes that were forced upon him. He had to pretend and smile, even when he felt like crying and screaming. He tried to be optimistic and positive, but it was hard, especially when he started to notice the strange and disturbing things that were happening around him. It began on his first day when he saw the symbol. It was a crude drawing of a fish with a human face, surrounded by a circle of thorns. It was etched on the wall of his locker, as if someone had carved it with a knife. He had no idea what it meant, or who had done it, but it gave him a bad feeling. He tried to erase it with his sleeve, but it wouldn't come off. He tried to ignore it, but it haunted him. He asked some of the other students about it, but they either shrugged it off or avoided the question. He asked some of the teachers about it, but they either scolded him for defacing school property or dismissed it as a prank. He asked the janitor about it, but he only muttered something about Mullet and walked away. Mullet was the name that kept coming up in the whispers and rumors that circulated among the student body. Robbie heard it several times, but he didn't know who or what it was. Some said it was a student who had gone missing a few years ago, and whose ghost still haunted the school. Some said it was a student who had gone crazy and killed his classmates, and whose spirit still sought revenge. Some said it was a student who had made a deal with the devil, and whose power still corrupted the school. Robbie didn't know what to believe, but he felt a growing sense of dread and curiosity. He wanted to find out the truth, but he also feared the consequences. He wondered if the symbol on his locker had anything to do with Mullet, and if he was somehow marked or targeted by him. He decided to do some research, and he found out that there was indeed a student named Mullet who had attended the school a few years ago. His real name was Malcolm Luttrell, but everyone called him Mullet because of his long and greasy hair. He was a loner and an outcast who was bullied and tormented by his peers. He was also a genius and a prodigy who excelled in math and science. He was obsessed with the occult and the paranormal, and he claimed to have discovered a secret formula that could unlock the secrets of the universe. He was also the prime suspect in a series of mysterious and gruesome incidents that occurred in the school, such as fires, explosions, power outages, and deaths. He was never caught or proven guilty, but he disappeared without a trace shortly after the last incident, which involved the death of a teacher and the disappearance of a student. Robbie was shocked and fascinated by what he learned, and he wanted to know more. He wondered if Mullet was still alive, and if he was behind the strange and scary things that were happening in the school. He wondered if he could find him, and if he could talk to him. He didn't realize that he was playing with fire, and that he was about to get burned. He didn't realize that he was digging his own grave, and that he was about to fall into it. He didn't realize that Mullet was watching him, and that he had a plan for him. Possible second part of the story. Robbie's curiosity led him to a dangerous path. He followed the clues and the hints that Mullet left for him, hoping to find him and confront him. He searched the school's archives, the library's books, and the internet's forums, looking for any information that could help him understand Mullet's motives and methods. He traced the symbol on his locker to an ancient cult that worshipped a fish-like deity, and he learned that it was a sign of initiation and invitation. He realized that Mullet wanted him to join his twisted game, and he accepted the challenge. He was not alone in his quest. He met a few other students who shared his interest and his courage, and who also had the symbol on their lockers. They formed a secret alliance, and they decided to work together to find Mullet and stop him. They called themselves the Fishermen, and they vowed to catch the big fish that was terrorizing the school. They were naive and foolish. They didn't know that they were playing into Mullet's hands, and that they were falling into his trap. They didn't know that Mullet had a network of spies and allies among the students and the staff, and that he was always one step ahead of them. They didn't know that Mullet had a hidden lair in the basement of the school, where he conducted his experiments and rituals, and where he kept his victims and trophies. They found out the hard way when they received a message from Mullet inviting them to a final showdown. He gave them a time and a place, and he dared them to face him. He promised to reveal his secrets and his plans, and he offered them a chance to join him or to stop him. He also warned them that it was a one-way ticket and that there was no turning back. They accepted the invitation, and they prepared for the confrontation. They armed themselves with whatever weapons and tools they could find, and they made their way to the basement of the school. They expected to find Mullet waiting for them, but they found something else instead. They found a nightmare. The basement was a maze of corridors and chambers, filled with horrors and abominations. They saw the corpses and the skeletons of the missing students and teachers, mutilated and mangled beyond recognition. They saw the machines and the devices that Mullet used to torture and experiment on his victims, twisted and grotesque beyond imagination. They saw the symbols and the sigils that Mullet used to summon and communicate with his dark master, sinister and ominous beyond description. They were terrified and disgusted, but they pressed on. They hoped to find Mullet and end his reign of terror, but they found something else instead. They found a trap. Mullet had lured them into his lair, and he had sealed the exits. He had rigged the basement with explosives and traps, and he had activated them. He had unleashed his minions and his monsters, and he had sicked them on them. He had prepared a final test for them, and he had started it. He spoke to them through a loudspeaker, and he taunted them. He told them that they had two options: to join him or to die. He told them that he had discovered the secret formula that could unlock the secrets of the universe, and that he had used it to create a portal to another dimension. He told them that he had made contact with a powerful being that dwelled in that dimension, and that he had pledged his allegiance to him. He told them that he had been chosen to be his emissary and his servant, and that he had been granted his power and his knowledge. He told them that he had a mission to fulfill, and that he needed their help. He told them that the being he served was the fish-like deity that the ancient cult worshipped, and that he was the true ruler of the universe. He told them that the deity had a plan to invade and conquer the world, and that he needed a gateway to do so. He told them that the portal he created was the gateway, and that he needed to stabilize and enlarge it. He told them that he needed a sacrifice to do so, and that they were the sacrifice. He told them that if they agreed to join him, he would spare their lives and grant them a share of his power and his glory. He told them that if they refused to join him, he would kill them and use their blood and their souls to fuel his portal. He told them that they had no choice, and that they had to decide. He told them that he was Mullet, and that he was their master. Robbie was shocked and horrified by what he heard, and he realized that he had made a terrible mistake. He wished he had never come to this school, and he wished he had never heard of Mullet. He wished he could go back to his old life, and he wished he could forget this nightmare. But there was no going back. He had to face the consequences of his actions, and he had to make a decision. He looked at his fellow fishermen, and he saw the fear and the doubt in their eyes. He wondered what they would do, and he wondered what he would do. He wondered if he would join Mullet or if he would die. Thank you for joining us for this spine-tingling story. We hope you found it both thrilling and thought-provoking. If you enjoyed this video, please consider participating in our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with your friends. Your support goes a long way in helping us create more engaging content for you. Goodbye, and may you always tread carefully in the world of the unknown.